And welcome back on Take Action News with David Shuster. This is executive producer Daniel Marins in the host chair this hour on Saturday, May 4th. We've been promoting and playing up this moment for all of the show, and of course that is we're having a great debate on the issue of abortion rights and reproductive rights. We are pleased right now to have joining us on the phone Lila Rose, the director of Live Action, debating on behalf against abortion rights, and Erin Matson, the editor-at-large of RH Reality Check. Lila and Erin, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, well, we are making sure that we're getting Lila and Erin on the line, but the reason that we decided to have this debate at this very moment is the ongoing trial of Dr. Kermit Gosnell, who was an abortion doctor in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and basically is now being charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder for performing abortions on viable fetuses, viable babies after they had emerged, and I should say, killing them, not a normal abortion, and also being guilty of manslaughter of a woman who was in his care. Many of the assistants that worked there, including a medical student who was not properly licensed, have apparently agreed to plea deals. 3 of the first-degree murder charges, it was recently announced, were dropped. He was acquitted of those. He still stands accused of many other violations. And of course, the folks in the what they call the pro-life community, what I think objectively we can say is the anti-abortion rights community, believe that this is a watershed moment to make Americans more aware of practices that occur all across the country in abortion clinics. On the other side, pro-choice activists, those who advocate in favor of abortion rights, believe that this is actually further evidence that abortion needs to be out in the open and as available as possible, so that doctors like Dr. Gosnell aren't allowed to thrive and to practice. So my first question to start this off is going to be for you, Erin. Erin, doesn't Dr. Gosnell and the horrid practices that occurred in his clinic demonstrate that abortion has gone too far in this country?
What the Gosnell trial proves is that we need more access to safe abortion, not less. You know, one of the most disheartening things is you read accounts of women who went to his horrible clinic, and they give accounts of, they didn't have the money, and so he exploited and preyed upon poor women, women of color, women who were struggling to access abortion due to restrictions on abortion, and really exploited and abused, and the allegations against him are just awful. And so I think that, what this trial is not about abortion. This trial is actually about murder. And there's a clear difference here. And one of the things that's so disingenuous that's coming out of Lila and others is they're trying to conflate abortion with murder charges, which is it's entirely 2 different things.
Lila, how about it? Are you being disingenuous? Does the Gosnell trial not just affirm that we need to have greater access to abortion in clean, open facilities that do not have the characteristics of Dr. Gosnell?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think that it's important to notice a reality, a fact that presents itself. The child that Dr. Gosnell was killing, the children that he was killing moments after delivery in his clinic by snipping their necks, their spinal cords, and severing their spinal cords. Those children, it was legal for him to kill moments earlier in the mother's body, in the woman's womb. And so we have to.
Is that actually true though? Is that true? Because
I'd like you to let me finish here.
Okay.
This is an important point to make. We have laws where it is infanticide to kill a child outside of the womb, but that same child can be torn limb from limb in the womb, poison injected into its chest cavity, into its little beating heart, for it to basically, for its heart to stop over an agonizing half hour, or their umbilical cords are severed so they asphyxiate in the womb. This is what we're doing to brutalize children in the womb, those same children whose rights are protected outside of the womb. That is disingenuous. That just shows that we have a schizophrenia in our law system where we're protecting, the difference in protection is only 8 inches of birth canal. It's nothing about the child's actual inherent human rights.
Well, Lila, I just want to interject briefly and just to say that we do have laws that say that people are innocent until proven guilty in the country. So I would say that Dr. Gosnell is alleged to have killed these children in that particular way. Until he's convicted, we do not believe that. But I would also
Are the children dead? Are the childden dead?
That is not the issue that I was talking about. You're accusing him of a particular kind of murder. It has no.
I said that these children have been killed, and I think that there is undeniable evidence that these children are dead.
The use of the term "kill" still is political in this particular case. How about it, Erin? Is this an issue of Erin? Is this an issue of temporality? Is this just a question of the fact that these children moments earlier could have been that fetal life could have been extinguished moments earlier legally had he not taken them out of the womb? Is that the issue at hand?
Well, two things. First, Lila is trying to confuse you because she opposes all abortion, and she knows that most people don't agree with her on that. So instead, she's coming to you, instead of coming to you honestly to try to change your point of view, she wants you to think that abortion procedures are just separated by a few inches from murder. And, as someone, the second point that I want to bring up is that I am pregnant right now. I'm in the later stage of a pregnancy. I'm proud to be pro-choice, and it's just so offensive to hear her talk about what's really coming at, making huge changes to my civil and human rights that I can exercise as a pregnant woman. Later abortion is something that is always going to be necessary and needed and legal in this country. It saves women's lives.
But should it be legal is it something that you believe should be legal for purposes other than saving women's lives at discretion?
I'm proud to stand up for legal abortion. I think it's one of the greatest public health advances that we've ever had in this country. But the fact is that, later abortions, and by that I mean abortions occurring after 20 weeks, we're only talking about 1.5% of all abortions in this country. And why, let's dive into that a little more. Why would a woman have an abortion after 20 weeks? I can tell you as a pregnant woman, usually it's health, either the woman or the pregnancy. So, in the course of my pregnancy right now, I can tell you I'm constantly getting ultrasounds and tests. They get more powerful as your pregnancy goes on. A lot of times you don't realize that something is horribly wrong with the pregnancy. For example, that you have an encephalic fetus, which means that there is no brain, that there's no way that you can have a live baby. Even with a very much wanted pregnancy, that you might have twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, where one twin is never going to make it, and if you don't have an abortion for that twin selectively, the other one will not make it either. The other fact is that, just because I'm pregnant and I'm thrilled to have a child doesn't mean, and just like any woman who's pregnant and thrilled to have a child, it doesn't mean that your body stops and freezes in time. So, the reality is that I could be diagnosed with cancer right now. Someone else could be diagnosed with cancer right now. You shouldn't have to delay life-saving treatment simply because someone so extreme believes that she has beliefs about abortion that no one else in this, or very few people in this country agree with.
Lila, do you favor preventing a woman from having access to abortion in the event that her life is in danger?
Let me give you 3 responses.
That's my question. Okay.
Yeah, let me give you 3 responses to that if you'll allow me to. The first response is that abortion is not a treatment for a medical problem. This is a lie that has been perpetuated by abortion advocates in the United States. And the case in point here is Ireland. You look at Ireland, it's an abortion-free country, and yet it has one of the top 3 lowest maternal death rates. It's one of the safest places in the world for a woman as a mother and for children. It's safer than the United States. It beats out the United States. This is because they're abortion-free, and they recognize that there are 2 patients when a woman is pregnant, her child and her. That is the most humane way, the best way, the most compassionate way, and the just way to approach medicine here. Again, abortion is not a treatment for medical problems. Secondly,
but it's funny that you mentioned Ireland, because a woman recently died in Ireland when she was denied an abortion. And that woman's name was Savita Halappanavar. Do you deny that is actually a problem? And of course, there's a study by the Guttmacher Institute that overall countries with more liberal abortion laws have fewer abortions and fewer deaths from abortions.
You're misinformed. You're misinformed there. I'm sorry to say, because Savita's case, Savita was not seeking an abortion. Savita had a miscarriage because of a problem that she had. She was not denied an abortion, whereas, as far as a miscarriage is concerned, because in that situation the child is already dead, and that would be an evacuation of that child.
They refused to terminate the pregnancy because the fetus's heart was beating, and apparently the answer to her was that this is a Catholic country. They chose the fetus's life over the life of the mother, didn't they?
You're misinformed. I'm going to tell you to go to a website called savitafacts.com, which are the facts about what happened to Savita. Again, Savita was not seeking an abortion. Savita had a separate problem that could have been treated, but people are blaming, abortion advocates are using the tragic death of this woman to say that Ireland needs abortion. And that's a shame, because Ireland is safer than the United States for women with children. And that's a fact. So I think that we need to cut past the rhetoric here and look to the facts about how safe Ireland is for women and children, because they don't see abortion as a solution to medical problems. But that was only my first point. My second point here is, I respect, Erin, your rights as a woman. I'm a woman. I consider myself a feminist. I believe in equal rights for women and men. I believe in empowerment. But I don't think that any right that we may have allows us to infringe on the rights of another person, and particularly the most fundamental right, which is the right to life. And a child in the womb, whether we like it or not, even if you don't feel this way, science tells us that the child in the womb is a unique, individual human being. And because of those facts, that gives that child the right to life, which is not a right that's conferred on it by government or by, people that come together and decide who has rights and who doesn't. Rights are innate. Rights are innate because to be human...
We've got to cut to break, Lila, but when we come back, and I know Erin is dying to respond to that, but when we come back, Erin, you're going to respond to some of those claims. Does someone... Is the life in a person's womb equivalent to a human life, and somehow that violating that amounts to taking another life? When Take Action News continues this fascinating, heated debate on abortion between Erin Matson and Lila Rose, Take Action News continues after this. And welcome back on Take Action News with David Shuster's executive producer Daniel Marins, once again in the host chair this second hour. We're continuing our debate between Lila Rose, the director of Live Action, a group that opposes abortion rights, and Erin Matson, the editor of large of RH Reality Check, a long-time reproductive and abortion rights advocate. And I have to say that I am a little bit surprised that, Lila, you have still not answered my question whether abortion or terminating a pregnancy during surgery is okay in the case that it saves the life of a mother, and I'm forced to assume that you would prize the life of the fetus over the life of the mother.
I read the third point, which got cut off earlier from the break. But as I said, first of all, abortion is not a medical treatment. Abortion is not a treatment to a disease.
Answer the question. Answer the question. Would you terminate the life of a fetus if in surgery, in a particular case, as was the case with Savita Halappanavar, if it saved the life of a mother?
Third, what this means, if it's a fallopian pregnancy, then yes. In that situation, which is the only situation really where the child cannot survive anyways, that's not an elective abortion where your goal is to kill that child.
I'm not talking about a situation where the fetus is going to die anyway. I'm talking about a situation where the fetus has to die in order to save the life of a mother. You're against that.
That's a false scenario. You are asking a question from a false premise, so it's an unfair question.
That's absolutely not true. That we know medically that there are those scenarios.
No, you look at Ireland. Ireland is abortion-free, and it's 3 times more safe than the United States to have a child and to be a mother in Ireland.
Tell that to the widow of Savita Halappanavar. Erin, how do you respond to that?
And you have misinformation about Savita. You're still
I'm taking the information from the coroner's report, report that was reported in The Guardian and all the British papers and all the Irish papers.
The coroner's report said that Savita died of an E. coli infection. The hospital records say that Savita never asked for an abortion.
It's not an issue, but it's not an issue for asking for an abortion. They needed to terminate the pregnancy during that surgery to save her from that ailment.
No, they didn't. You have misinformation. You have misinformation on that. Savita died of an E. coli infection, and abortion was not even requested. It was not needed to save her life.
Excuse me. Erin is saying something. Erin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just listening to all this, and I'm baffled. And it's really my hope that Lila will find the courage over time to pursue her anti-human rights crusade against pregnant women in an honest manner. First of all, like you said, in Ireland, there was an inquest recently that confirmed that Savita's life was subordinated to a non-viable fetus. She had sepsis. Her fetus was not going to live. This was very much a wanted pregnancy. She begged for an abortion. She was told, no, this is a Catholic country. We can't do that. She then died needlessly. And so to hear Lila talk about, that is the, quote, most humane way to address complications during pregnancy. I mean, what a bizarre statement. Another thing that she seems to be, I noticed that she was dodging your question about whether or not abortion is ever required to save a woman's life. Live Action, her organization, has said before that abortion is never medically required to save a pregnant woman's life. That's just like what she's saying about Ireland. That is simply, and Savita, that is simply not true. And the consequences of putting these sorts of untruthful views into public policies are the deaths of women like me who very much want to be pregnant. Right now, my organization, RH Reality Check, is working around the clock to help save another woman in a situation like this. Her name is Beatriz. She is in El Salvador. She has lupus. She has failing kidneys. And she is pregnant with a fetus that will never survive. It's an encephalic, meaning it has no brain. And right now you've got human rights bodies around the world urging El Salvador to permit her to have a life-saving abortion. She could die within a matter of days. It is very dangerous to put views like this out here. It's one thing to have personal beliefs that you do, and everyone is free to have an opinion, but we have got to keep this free from public policy. This is about the pregnant women just like me who have done nothing wrong, who really deserve to have our human and civil rights.
So let me pose the question to you this way, Lila. Why not just say, essentially, I value the life of the fetus over the life of the mother? That's a perfectly legitimate perspective in this political debate, and I believe that certainly a traditional or a conservative Catholic theology would say that.
Daniel, you're totally wrong here. And Erin, I respect you as a woman, Erin, but I would request that we can have this conversation without personal attacks. And I would say that, first of all, I believe in human rights for all people, and we don't have to pit the mother against the child. That's
but it is a question. It is a question, and people deserve clarity on your position. People deserve clarity on your position.
I'm answering the question by saying that's like saying if you had to shoot a little boy in the room or the little girl or the little boy and his mother, who would you shoot first? You're asking a false question that's not fair to ask because it's not reality. Let's look at reality. Erin did not respond to Ireland being one of the safest places in the world for a baby because, frankly, her friends at RH Reality Check and the pro-abortion movement is fighting for Ireland to liberalize its abortion laws and to let abortion into the country. That's going to make its maternal rights hurt because the way that, the UK, the way that the United States is lower than Ireland in being a safe place for a baby. Erin didn't even respond to that. The other thing that we have to look at here is we haven't talked once about the fact that the abortion rate in America is what it is.
It's the lowest it's been since the 80s, and it had the biggest drop from 2008 to 2009 since 2000. And I would add, Lila, here's my question. It shows that abortions can decline despite them being illegal. But here's my question. Here's my question. 1.2 million abortions, illegal abortions, were performed in the United States prior to 1973, before Roe versus Wade, and many women did their own abortions with hangers and had abortions in back alleys. Do you deny that, and would you want to return that? How would you defend against that if we legalized abortion?
First of all, Daniel, I need to call you out here because it sounds like, even though you're the moderator, it sounds like you definitely have an opinion here. And the statistics
I've made that clear.
The statistics that you're speaking, whether they're about a Savita or your statistic about there being over 1 million abortions before Roe v. Wade, you're wrong. Those statistics are false. Even some of the designers or the architects of the PR campaign that pushed for Roe v. Wade to be the decision that it was said later on that their statistics were misleading, that they actually made up some of those statistics.
That statistic I just cited is from the Guttmacher Institute, and it's recognized. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. We have to leave it there in that debate because we do have a time limit and a break. I want to thank Erin Matson and Lila Rose from Live Action for joining us to discuss this important, pressing issue. When Take Action News continues, we're going to continue discussing all of the issues at play here. And of course, David Shuster and I are going to talk about it a little bit, but this is an issue where Americans continue to remain evenly divided, even as Americans are now by majorities supporting same-sex marriage, another hot-button cultural issue. They continue to be relatively evenly divided on the issue of abortion. The issue of abortion in the case of a life of a mother, not so divided at all. When Take Action News continues, David Shuster is going to resume hosting. We're going to talk with Dr. Alan Rosenblatt, Dr. Digipol, after this.